That seat's not yours. Grant Harlan's voice cuts through the hum of American Airlines Flight 214's business class cabin like a blade. He towers over seat 2A, 6'3" of tailored confidence blocking the aisle. His finger jabs toward the gate agent's scanner. Check it again. That woman clearly doesn't belong here. The scanner beeps green. Again. Third time. Still green. Grant's jaw tightens. $12,000 for this cabin, and you're telling me... Kesha Washington doesn't look up from her faded Northwestern hoodie. She slides into 2A by the window, silent as winter fog. Behind Grant, Vanessa Crane raises her iPhone. The red recording light blinks. 8 business-class passengers watch. Nobody speaks up. 41 minutes from now, Grant will beg her to save his life. Right now, the cabin door seals shut with a pneumatic hiss. Nobody's laughing yet. The overhead bins click shut like coffin lids. Kesha Washington arranges her single carry-on, a black canvas backpack with frayed straps and no brand logo beneath the seat in front of her. Her movements are economical, deliberate. Everything about her screams budget. Travel the Northwestern hoodie in washed-out gray, with a coffee stain ghosting down the left sleeve jeans torn at the knee. Not fashion-torn, actually worn through sneakers that once were white, but now show more gray than anything. Her hair is pulled back in a simple low bun, no product, no styling, no makeup. Dark circles under her eyes suggest sleep is a luxury she hasn't afforded lately. She's 28, but looks older. The way grief ages a person faster than time. A thin scar traces behind her left ear, maybe 3 inches surgical precise, disappearing into her hairline. She doesn't try to hide it, doesn't try to hide anything. From her window seat, she counts silently. 7 rows to overwing exit, 15 to aft door. Her eyes track the cabin's emergency placards, the oxygen panel above the exit row lighting running along the floor. Her fingers find the seatbelt, and she fastens it with a motion that doesn't match civilian flying pull lock double check tighten to eliminate slack. The way cargo pilots secure 5-point harnesses before tactical approaches. Nobody notices. They're too busy noticing her hoodie. Grant Harlan remains standing in the aisle phone pressed to his ear. Yes, I need to speak to a supervisor. Gate B17. There's been some kind of mistake with seat assignments. He glances at Kesha like she's a stain on his day. Or fraud. I'm not sure which. Paige Scott. The lead flight attendant, 12 years with American, seen everything twice, approaches with practiced patience. Sir, may I help you? Grant gestures at Kesha without looking at her. This. Check her boarding pass again. Something's wrong here. Paige scans Kesha's phone. The system beeps confirmation. Washington Kesha M, Seat 2A, Business Class, Military Upgrade Program. Grant's expression fractures. Military her. The disbelief in his voice could fill the cargo hold. From Seat 3B, Vanessa Crane, blonde, sharp-featured VP of Sales at Harlan Pharmaceuticals, leans across the aisle. Her voice carries just enough volume for the surrounding rows. Girl, that hoodie is giving homeless chic. Are we sure she didn't just wander into the wrong cabin? She laughs, a bright, cruel sound. Derek Joe in 3C doesn't laugh. He's already Googling on his tablet how to report airline seating fraud. His screen reflects in the window search results about stolen frequent flyer miles, identity theft. Kesha opens a laptop. 7 years old, Dell, the plastic casing cracked at one corner. The screen glows to life, and for just a moment her browsing history is visible. No AA, Aviation, Weather Center. Not Facebook, not Instagram, weather data. She navigates to a page showing icing forecasts over the North Pacific. Freezing levels, wind shear predictions, SIGMET warnings. Grant catches a glimpse as he finally moves past to his seat in row 1. He mutters to Derek loud enough for Kesha to hear, probably watching YouTube tutorials on how to pretend you're important. Kesha's face doesn't change. She closes the laptop lid, pulls her backpack onto her lap to retrieve a water bottle. For 1 second, maybe less, the bottom of her hoodie rides up. Beneath it, a compression brace medical grade wrapped around her lower back, the kind prescribed for spinal injuries. Brad Simmons in 4A, Harlan Pharmaceuticals legal counsel notices. His eyes narrow, but he doesn't understand what he's seeing. Just another detail that doesn't fit his mental picture of who belongs in business class. Paige Scott pauses at Kesha's row after stowing her own bag. Their eyes meet for half a heartbeat. Paige sees something. A stillness in the younger woman's gaze, a depth that doesn't match the shabby clothes. But the boarding process is behind schedule, and there are 70 more passengers to seat in economy. "Let me know if you need anything, ma'am," Paige says quietly. "Thank you," Kesha replies. 2 words, soft but steady, the voice of someone who's learned when not to speak. The aircraft's PA system crackles. Flight attendants prepare for departure. Grant settles into 1A with a theatrical sigh. Vanessa's already composing an Instagram story photo of her champagne glass caption half written, "When your business class neighbor shops at Goodwill." She hovers over the post button. Through the window, the last luggage cart pulls away. The jetway retracts. The Boeing 777-300ER registration, N2749B, delivered to American Airlines in 2018, $47,000 flight hours, on the airframe sits heavy on its landing gear, loaded with 183 souls, $52,000 pounds of fuel, and one secret nobody's bothered to ask about. Kesha Washington rests her head against the window. Her eyes close. But her breathing is wrong for sleep too measured, too controlled. 4 counts in, 7 counts hold, 8 counts out. The pattern fighter pilots use to stay conscious during high G turns. The taxiway stretches ahead, like a concrete ribbon under sodium lights. Flight 2 more 10 inches forward in the departure queue. 7 aircraft ahead, the tower controller's voice, crackling through the cockpit speakers with holding instructions. Captain Michael Torres, 58 years of flying etched into the lines around his eyes, exchanges glances with First Officer Tara Kim. They've been sitting here 35 minutes. Not unusual for O'Hare on a Friday evening, but the weather forecast has both pilots checking their displays more often than normal. The PA system clicks. "Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, we're number 8 for departure. We're experiencing some weather along our route tonight, so we've filed for a slightly northern track. Should add about 12 minutes to our flight time. We appreciate your patience." In seat 1A, Grant Harlan leans toward Derek Joe across the aisle. His voice carries intentional or not. 12-hour flight next to that. He tilts his head toward row 2 without looking back. This is what happens when airlines prioritize woke diversity policies over passenger comfort. Mark my words, Derek's standards are slipping everywhere. Derek nods, half listening, scrolling through his tablet. He's pulled up American Airlines complaint portal, drafting a message. "Suspicious passenger in business class, seat 2A. No visible luggage, inappropriate attire, possible security concern." Behind them, Kesha Washington has her seatbelt fastened still pulled tight in that cargo pilot way, and her phone in airplane mode. But the screen shows something unexpected, a notes app filled with data. Not shopping lists, not text messages, aviation data. ORD 1847Z, RWI 28R, wind 290, 18G28, temp 40°C, PAN-C forecast, icing LVL 080, 180, Sigmet SEV ice, mod Sevi turb. The abbreviations are precise, professional. The kind of shorthand dispatchers and pilots use, not civilians. Marcus Reed deadheading Alaska Airlines. 737 captain in seat 6A happens to glance over while retrieving his own phone from his briefcase. His eyes catch Kesha's screen for maybe 2 seconds. Long enough. He blinks, looks again. She's closed the app. Why is she tracking icing levels? The question lodges in his mind, but before he can process it, the aircraft lurches forward. Taxi acceleration. The engine's low rumble climbs to a purposeful whine. Grant's voice rises above the noise. If this plane crashes because they let unqualified people buy discounted seats with stolen miles, or veterans' charity programs, or whatever loophole she exploited. Kesha's eyes open. She doesn't turn her head, but her voice cuts through the space between them, soft and utterly calm. Sir, please secure your seatbelt. Rotation in 15 seconds. Grant's head whips around. Don't tell me what to do. I've flown first class more times than... The nose tilts up. Exactly 15 seconds later. The Boeing 777's main landing gear leaves runway 28R with the smooth authority of 400 tons achieving flight. The Chicago skyline falls away beneath them. Skyscrapers shrinking to matchsticks, Lake Michigan a black void under scattered clouds. Climb rate 2,500 feet per minute. V2 speed 168 knots. Everything by the book. Grant's mouth closes. He stares at the seat back in front of him silent. But the rage doesn't dissipate. It crystallizes, hardens into something colder. Vanessa Crane. 2 rows back, taps her phone screen. Instagram story, posted photo of her champagne flute, not yet served, but staged caption reading 12-hour flight, sitting near someone who clearly doesn't understand dress codes, just business class, just standards, just you get what you pay. Location tagged American Airlines Flight 214, posted to 47,000 followers. In the forward galley, Paige Scott secures the last of the catering carts. She glances back toward business class, her eyes landing on Kesha's window seat. Something about that woman troubles her, not in a threatening way, but in a puzzle piece that doesn't fit way. The military upgrade designation on the boarding pass. The way she'd counted rows to exits without moving her lips, but Paige had seen her eyes tracking. The scar behind her ear. Paige has flown with enough service members over the years to recognize certain patterns. This woman has them. But she's dressed like she can't afford a meal at McDonald's. The aircraft reaches flight level 18,000 feet, and the seatbelt sign chimes off. Passengers stir. Laptops open. Phones emerge despite the airplane mode warnings. Grant Harlan immediately calls over Paige. I need to file a formal complaint. That woman, he points at Kesha without subtlety, is in a seat she clearly cannot afford. I want her credentials verified. If she's using a stolen account or fraudulent military status, that's a federal crime. Paige's professional smile doesn't waver. Sir, all passengers have been verified by TSA and our gate agents. If you'd like to submit written feedback, I can provide a form after we're airborne. I want it handled now. I'll note your concern. Paige turns away before he can escalate further, but the damage is spreading. The woman in 3C whispers to her husband in 3A. Brad Simmons pulls out his phone and Googles military upgrade fraud airlines. Derek Joe has already found an article about veterans selling their benefits on the black market. The assumption spreads like fuel vapor, invisible but volatile waiting for a spark. Flight level 370, 37,000 feet. The Boeing 777 has settled into cruise autopilot, engaged the North Pacific, stretching dark and endless ahead. Outside, Kesha's window, stars pierce the blackness above a floor of clouds glowing faint silver under the moon. Temperature minus 53 Celsius. Airspeed 490 knots. The cabin lights have dimmed to evening mode. Amber reading lights scattered like fireflies. Kesha closes her laptop. She reaches into her backpack and pulls out a piece of paper, folded small, worn at the creases, like it's been opened and refolded 100 times. She unfolds it carefully. It's a hand-drawn diagram. Runway layout, approach headings, radio frequencies written in precise block lettering, PANX TDUR 118.3, GND 121.9, ATIS 125.6. Tactical airfield plate. Not something pulled from a civilian aviation app. This is military-grade information, the kind cargo pilots carry for austere field landings. Marcus Reed, sitting one row back across the aisle, freezes mid-reach for his water bottle. His eyes lock on the paper in Kesha's hands. He's a 737 captain with 20 years of commercial flying. He knows what he's looking at. That's a tactical approach plate. Where the hell did she get that Kesha's fingers trace the runway diagram, whispering numbers under her breath, too quiet for anyone else to hear, but Marcus can see her lips moving. She's memorizing headings, calculating something. Before he can decide whether to say anything, the aircraft shudders. Not turbulence. Not the gentle rocking passengers laugh off. This is a sharp vertical jolt, like hitting a pothole at 70 miles per hour. Overhead bins rattle. A woman in economy yelps. The seatbelt sign chimes on with its authoritative bong bong. Kesha's hand moves to her wrist to the cheap Casio G-Shock watch she's wearing. Her lips move, counting silently. 16, 17, 18. At 20, the turbulence stops, dead calm. Dr. Harold Peterson, retired Air Force flight surgeon sitting in 4C, has been half asleep, but that movement, the counting, the precision, pulls him fully awake. He's seen that before. Pilots do it. They count wave frequencies during chop to predict clear air. It's not something civilians know. He studies the back of Kesha's head through the gap between seats. The compression brace visible under her hoodie when she'd boarded. The scar behind her ear. The way she sits spine straight despite apparent exhaustion, feet flat core, engaged even at rest. Only pilots sit like that. The PA crackles. Flight attendants were experiencing some weather. Captain may need to declare. Kesha's voice, barely a whisper, cuts through the cabin. Noise, squawk 7700. He should call it now. Paige Scott is walking past with a tray of drinks. She stops mid-step, turns. What did you just say? Kesha looks up, startled. She hadn't realized anyone was close enough to hear. Nothing. Sorry. Paige stares at her for 3 full seconds. Squawk 7700. Emergency transponder code. The universal signal that an aircraft is in distress. How does a random passenger in a hoodie know that Ma'am Paige says slowly, "How do you know that code?" Before Kesha can answer, Grant Harlan's voice booms from row 1. He's twisted in his seat, staring back. "Oh, so now you're an aviation expert. Let me guess you Googled emergency codes in the bathroom." Vanessa chimes in, laughing. She probably thinks squawk is a bird sound. Derek Joe leans into the aisle, his voice dripping with condescension. "Let me educate you, sweetheart. Squawk 7700 is an emergency transponder code. It's not something passengers throw around casually. It's a 4-digit number pilots enter when there's a life-threatening situation. You clearly heard it somewhere and wanted to sound smart." Kesha's jaw tightens, but she says nothing. She folds the approach plate, slides it back into her backpack, and turns her face toward the window. If you're already sensing that Kesha Washington isn't who she appears to be, and you want to see exactly how wrong Grant Harlan is, about to be proven, hit that like button right now. This story is about to get intense, and you won't want to miss a single moment. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the reveal coming in the next 30 minutes will leave you speechless. Grant snorts. That's what I thought. Google University graduate. He turns back around, satisfied. But Paige Scott doesn't move. She's watching Kesha's reflection in the dark window. The woman's eyes are closed again, but her breathing is deliberate, controlled. 4 counts in 7 hold 8 out. Paige has a brother who flew Apaches in Iraq. She recognizes combat breathing when she sees it. Kesha shifts slightly, and her hoodie rides up again. This time, Paige gets a clear look, the compression brace medical grade with Velcro straps. And something else, the edge of a scar on Kesha's lower back just above the waistband of her jeans. Surgical, long. Paige moves to the galley, pulls out her phone crew members, get Wi-Fi access, and opens a secure messaging app to the cockpit. She types, "Captain Torres. Passenger in 2A has military background, possible prior flight experience. FYI." No response. The cockpit is busy with frequency changes, handoffs to Oakland Center routine cruise procedures. Paige pockets her phone and returns to her duties. But she keeps glancing at row 2. Kesha Washington, eyes still closed, breathes. 478. The pattern is automatic, now burned into muscle memory from 1,000 flights where staying conscious meant staying alive. Outside the stars wheel overhead, the North Pacific swallows the aircraft's sound. And somewhere ahead, weather systems converge fronts, colliding moisture, meeting cold air ice, forming in clouds that reach 8 miles high. 2 hours into the flight. The cabin has settled into the rhythm of long-haul cruise passengers, dozing, reading, watching movies on seatback screens. The drink service has passed through business class twice. Grant Harlan is on his 3rd scotch. Vanessa Crane has posted 4 more Instagram stories each with subtle digs at budget travelers in premium cabins. The PA clicks on. Captain Torres' voice calm, but with a professional edge that makes experienced travelers pay attention. Ladies and gentlemen, we're diverting slightly north to avoid some weather cells building along our route. Nothing to be concerned about, but we'll be experiencing a few course changes over the next hour. Flight attendants, please take your seats for a few minutes. Kesha's eyes open. She pulls out her phone airplane mode, briefly disabled as they pass through a satellite Wi-Fi zone. The screen loads FAA NOTAM database. NOTAMs are notices to airmen official aviation warnings, not something on most people's phones. She scrolls quickly. Pank Sigmet, severe icing, 0 ATISO 180, moderate turbulence, embedded CBs. Marcus Reed can't help himself anymore. He leans across the aisle, keeping his voice low. Excuse me, why do you have access to that? Kesha glances at him. Public information. She closes the app, returns the phone to airplane mode. NOTAM databases aren't exactly casual browsing, Marcus presses. You'd need to know where to look, and why. She doesn't answer, just turns back to the window. In the cockpit, Captain Torres wipes his forehead. The temperature feels wrong, too warm, his stomach uneasy. He reaches for his water bottle, drinks deeply. Tara, you mind if I step out for a minute? Grab some air. First officer. Tara Kim glances over. You okay, Captain? Yeah, probably just the catering shrimp at the crew lounge. Tasted a little off. Keep an eye on things. Copy. I have the aircraft. Torres unbuckles heads aft. Outside Kesha's window, the landscape has changed. They've entered thick cloud cover. The wings visible in the faint position, lights show something that makes her stomach drop. Ice. Rime ice, accumulating on the leading edge. Not a lot yet, maybe a quarter inch, but building. The 777's anti-ice systems should be handling it, heated leading edges, engine intake anti-ice. But she's watching counting seconds, waiting for the telltale glow of heat activation. 10 seconds, 15, 20. There, the wing's surface shimmers slightly as heating elements engage. De-ice boots activating. Kesha exhales softly. Should have been on sooner. The words are barely audible. Marcus Reed hears them. His eyes widen. How do you know when anti-ice should activate? She doesn't respond. But the look on her face, it's not fear. It's assessment, calculation. The look of someone running through procedures in their head. Grant Harlan's voice cuts through from row 1 loud enough for half the cabin to hear. Anyone else feel like this flight is off? I don't trust airlines that prioritize quota filling over quality. We're in the middle of the Pacific with weather, and I'm supposed to feel safe when the company clearly cuts corners on passenger vetting. He glances back at Kesha meaningfully. Vanessa nods. I mean, if they're cutting corners on WHO, they let in business class. She lets the implication hang. Brad Simmons, the attorney, has been researching on his tablet. I actually looked her up. Kesha Washington. No LinkedIn, no professional profile, no social media presence, nothing. Derek Joe. probably using a fake name. Identity theft is easier than people think. The doubt spreads like ink in water. The woman in row 3 leans to her husband. Is it true they let people upgrade with stolen miles? The man in row 5 to his wife. I read about that. Frequent flyer fraud. Kesha's phone reconnects to satellite Wi-Fi briefly. Her screen shows no AA ice forecast charts. Pacific ETOPS, alternates PNC, Anchorage, PAC, Shemya, PAJN, Juneau, fuel calculations, diversion scenarios. These aren't passenger tools. This is dispatcher-level planning, chief pilot preparation. Marcus Reed sees the screen clearly now. His breath catches. Those are flight planning programs, professional grade. Miss, he says quietly, urgently. Who are you? Kesha closes the phone, locks the screen. Just a passenger like you. No, you're not. Marcus's voice is firm, but not hostile. I've been flying for 20 years. I know pilot behavior when I see it. You're tracking weather. You're counting turbulence intervals. You know transponder codes. You've got approach plates in your bag. Who are you? Before she can answer, the aircraft drops. Not turbulence this time. A sickening weightless fall, 3 full seconds of 0G before the autopilot catches and levels out. Passengers scream. Drink spill. An overhead bin pops open and economy spilling bags into the aisle. Kesha's body reacts before her mind does, feet braced flat against the floor. Core engaged, head pressed back against the headrest to protect her neck hands positioned to guard her torso. The posture is instinctive trained. Fighter pilot, anti-G response. Dr. Peterson sees it from 2 rows back. Dear God, she's been through high G emergencies. The PA crackles Tara Kim's voice, younger than Torres, with a thread of tension. Ladies and gentlemen, we just experienced some moderate clear air turbulence. Please remain seated with seatbelts fastened. Flight attendants remain seated. Paige Scott is already strapped into her jump seat, her face pale. She keys the intercom to the cockpit. Tara, you okay up there? We're fine, that was unexpected. Checking instruments now. But through the open cockpit door, left ajar during the turbulence, Marcus Reed can see flashing amber lights on the ECAS display, engine indication and crew alerting system. Something's flagging a caution. Kesha sees it too. Her eyes narrow, focused on that wedge of visible cockpit instrumentation. Her lips move, reading the warnings from 30 feet away. Ice detected. Grant Harlan's hands are white-knuckled on his armrests. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Substandard operations. We should have never taken off in this weather. Vanessa's Instagram bravado has vanished. She's gripping her phone like a lifeline, no longer filming. Derek Joe. Someone needs to demand answers from the crew. Brad Simmons. I'll handle it. He unbuckles, starts to stand. Paige's voice sharp over the cabin PA. Sir, remain seated. That's a federal regulation, not a suggestion. Brad sits. But the mood has shifted. Fear is mixing with the resentment Grant has been cultivating for 2 hours. The cabin is a pressure cooker, and the heat is rising. Kesha closes her eyes. Her breathing pattern accelerates slightly, not panic, but preparation. 478 becomes 356. Combat tempo. Outside, the ice keeps building. The intercom clicks. Not the PA system, the internal line between cockpit and galley. Paige Scott lifts the handset. Tara Kim's voice comes through tight with control. Paige, I need medical assistance forward. Captain Torres collapsed in the forward lavatory. He's unconscious. The words land like a bomb in Paige's mind. She keys the handset twice, acknowledgement without speaking, and reaches for the PA microphone. Her training takes over voice steady, despite the adrenaline dumping into her bloodstream. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is a physician on board, please identify yourself immediately by pressing your call button. 3 seconds pass. 5, 8. A call button chimes row 4. Dr. Harold Peterson stands his weathered face grave. I'm a physician, retired Air Force flight surgeon. Page moves quickly down the aisle. This way, doctor. They reach the forward lavatory. The door is locked from inside. Page uses her master key. The lock disengages with a metallic click. Captain Torres is slumped against the bulkhead skin, pale and clammy, breathing shallow. His eyes flutter, but don't focus. Dr. Peterson kneels in the cramped space fingers, finding the pulse point on Torres's neck. Pulse is weak, probably 90/60. He's shocky. How long has he been in here? Maybe 3 minutes, Page says. Peterson pulls back one of Torres's eyelids, checks pupil response. Severe food poisoning, possibly salmonella from contaminated seafood. He needs IV fluids and monitoring, but he's not dying. He is, however, completely incapacitated. Page's face drains of color. She keys the intercom to the cockpit. Tara, Captain Torres is unconscious. Food poisoning. He's stable, but out of commission. Tara Kim's voice cracks slightly over the speaker. Copy. I have the aircraft. In the business cabin, passengers are starting to understand. The woman in 3C grips her husband's hand. Derek Joe's fingers hover over his phone. He wants to record this post-it, but even he recognizes that now isn't the time. Kesha Washington unbuckles her seatbelt. She stands, moves toward the front of the cabin with the smooth, unhurried gait of someone walking into crisis rather than away from it. Grant Harlan's hand shoots out, blocking the aisle. Where do you think you're going? Kesha's voice is quiet level. I might be able to help. Help? Grant's laugh is sharp, ugly. You're not a doctor. You're not crew. You need to sit down before you make this worse. Vanessa Crane leans forward, her earlier confidence replaced with brittle fear. Oh my God, she's trying to use this crisis for attention. She probably doesn't even have a real boarding pass. Brad Simmons stands, positioning himself behind Grant. Two men now blocking the aisle. Miss Federal regulations prohibit passengers from interfering with flight operations. That includes approaching the cockpit during an emergency. Kesha stops. She doesn't push, doesn't argue, just stands there waiting. Dr. Peterson emerges from the forward lav, wiping his hands on a paper towel. He sees, Kesha sees the blockade, and his jaw tightens. Captain Torres has severe food poisoning. He's completely incapacitated. Blood pressure is dangerously low. He looks directly at Page. The first officer is alone up there. Does she need assistance? Page speaks into the intercom. Tara, Dr. Peterson is asking if you need help in the cockpit. Tara's voice young, strained, but trying to project confidence. I'm handling it. I've got 800 hours total time. This is a 777. I've never flown it single pilot, but I'm qualified. I can do this. Marcus Reed stands from seat 6A. Page, I'm a commercial pilot. 737 captain with Alaska Airlines. I'm rated and current. I can assist. Relief floods Page's face. Thank God. Go. Marcus moves forward. Grant Harlan steps aside immediately for him. The qualified pilot. The man in the neat polo shirt with the airline ID badge clipped to his belt. Kesha remains standing, watching. Marcus enters the cockpit. Through the open door, passengers can see the ECAS screen, amber warnings cascading. Tara Kim looks over her shoulder, exhaustion and fear written across her face. Thank God, she breathes. Marcus Reed, right. I've seen you at the training center. Yeah, Tara Kim. You flew with Captain Morrison last month. Marcus slides into the right seat, scanning instruments. Okay, talk me through what we've got. Autopilot's engaged. We're at flight level 370 on course for Anchorage. But we've got severe icing conditions, and the de-ice systems are cycling too frequently. I'm also seeing intermittent airspeed fluctuations. Pitot heat is on, but I think we've got partial blockage. Marcus studies the displays. His confidence wavers. Tara, I'm typed on 737. I've got 10,000 hours, but I've never flown a 777. The systems are different. The handling is different. If things get complicated, you're all we've got, Tara interrupts. Unless one of the passengers back there is a 777 pilot. Marcus remembers the woman in 2A, the approach plate, the calculations, the way she'd predicted the anti-ice activation. Actually, there might be someone. He leans back, calls through the open cockpit door. Page that passenger in 2A. Kesha, ask her if she has any wide-body experience. Any at all. Page moves to row 2. Kesha is already back in her seat, buckled in, staring out the window. Ma'am, the pilot is asking if you have any experience with large aircraft. Before Kesha can respond, Grant Harlan explodes from row 1. No, absolutely not. She is not touching that cockpit. She's not qualified. She's not vetted. For all we know, she's a security threat. Kesha speaks directly to Page, her voice carrying despite its softness. Tell him I'm typed on C-17. It's a military cargo aircraft. 4 engines, similar systems architecture to the 777. Marcus hears this through the open door. His head snaps around. C-17. She's flown a Globemaster. That's what she says, Page relays. That's a military heavy. If she's telling the truth, she'd know multi-engine ice procedures, asymmetric thrust management, heavy aircraft handling Grant storms into the aisle, his face crimson. She's lying. Anyone can claim anything. You want to trust this flight to someone in a Goodwill hoodie. Dr. Peterson stands his voice cutting through with military authority. Son, I flew with C-17 pilots in Iraq. I know the type. Her posture, her breathing patterns, her situational awareness. She's the real deal. You're old and you're tired, Grant snaps. You're not thinking clearly. The cabin fractures into factions. Some passengers nod agreement. With Grant, she does look suspicious after all. Others side with Dr. Peterson. What choice do they have? Brad Simmons. This is a liability nightmare. If she's not qualified and something happens, the airline is criminally liable. Derek Joe. We should vote. Passenger democracy. Vanessa Crane, her voice shaking. I just want to get home. I don't care. Who flies the plane? Kesha remains seated. Her hands rest on her armrests, steady. She looks at Page and speaks clearly. Ma'am, you have every right to doubt me. But if First Officer Kim becomes fully incapacitated, your 737 pilot will be alone with an aircraft he's never flown in severe icing conditions with degraded instrumentation. If that happens, I'm offering assistance. That's all. Grant blocks the aisle with his body. Over my dead body. Kesha meets his eyes. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. She turns back to the window. The standoff solidifies. Grant standing in the aisle like a sentinel. Kesha in her seat waiting. The cockpit ahead with 2 pilots, one barely conscious one in over his head. And the ice keeps building. 10 minutes pass. The cabin has fallen into tense silence, punctuated only by the whisper of airflow through vents and the occasional ding of a call button being pressed, then ignored. Captain Torres has been moved to a crew rest area, Dr. Peterson monitoring his vital signs. The diagnosis stands severe food poisoning, possibly from contaminated catering shrimp. He's breathing stable, but utterly unable to fly. In the cockpit, Marcus Reed and Tara Kim work in strained coordination. Marcus handles the radio's coordinates with Oakland Oceanic Control. Tara flies the aircraft hands on the yoke, despite the autopilot being engaged, ready to take over at the first sign of system failure. Then Tara's face goes pale. Marcus, she says quietly. I don't feel good. He looks over. Her skin has taken on a gray cast sweat beading on her forehead. Tara, the shrimp. I ate it too, in the crew lounge. Captain Torres and I shared the plate. Her voice is tight controlled, but the nausea is audible. I think I'm... She doesn't finish. She fumbles for the intercom. Paige, I need a bag. Now. Paige Scott appears in the cockpit doorway seconds later with an air sickness bag. Tara takes it, breathes into it, fighting the waves of nausea. Her hands shake on the yoke. Tara, talk to me, Marcus urges. Can you fly? I don't know. Everything's spinning. Marcus's hands move to the controls. Okay, I'm taking over. Just focus on breathing. But you're not typed. I'm all we have right now. The ICA's screen chimes. A new warning appears. Amber text. Against black ice detected. Pitot heat fail. Marcus's stomach drops. Pitot tubes are icing over. We're losing reliable airspeed indication. The airspeed indicators on both sides of the display start fluctuating wildly. 280 knots, 340 knots, 190 knots. All impossible at cruise altitude. The aircraft is flying at approximately 490 knots, but the instruments no longer agree on what that number is. I can't trust these readings, Marcus says, his voice rising. We need to hand fly on attitude and power settings. Tara slumps forward, head resting against the glare shield. Marcus, I can't see straight. Another chime. HYD sucks IS, a press low. Marcus scans the hydraulic synoptic display. System A pressure, 2,400 psi and dropping. Normal is 3,000. Hydraulic system A is failing. We're losing primary flight control redundancy. Tara's eyes are closed now, her breathing shallow and rapid. Tara, Marcus shakes her shoulder gently. No response. She's conscious, but barely. Completely unable to assist. He's alone. Marcus read 10,000 hours of flight time. All of it in Boeing 737s, is now the only conscious pilot on a Boeing 777-300ER with 183 souls on board, flying through severe icing conditions with unreliable instruments and degrading hydraulic systems. He's never flown this aircraft. He's never trained in its simulator. He knows enough to keep it in the air, maybe, but landing it, handling an emergency, that requires systems knowledge he simply doesn't have. His hands are shaking. He grips the yoke tighter to hide it. The radio crackles. American 214 Heavy Oakland Center, confirm your status. Marcus keys the mic, his voice professionally calm, despite the terror clawing at his throat. Oakland American 214 Heavy, both rated pilots incapacitated due to food poisoning. I'm a 737 captain unrated on type, currently at controls. Request immediate assistance and priority handling to nearest suitable airport. Silence on the frequency. 3 seconds. 5. American 214. Oakland Center copies all. Stand by for emergency handling and dispatcher patch through. Confirm souls on board and fuel remaining. 214. Heavy souls on board 183. Fuel remaining approximately 2.5 hours at current consumption. But even as he says it, Marcus watches the fuel flow indicators. The ice accumulation on the wings and fuselage is increasing drag. The engines are working harder to maintain speed. Fuel burn is climbing. 2.5 hours is optimistic. More like 2 hours, maybe less. American 214 nearest suitable airport is Anchorage International bearing 045 distance 400 nautical miles. Diverting you now. Expect vectors. 400 miles? 90 minutes. Marcus does the math quickly. Tight, but doable, if nothing else goes wrong. The ICAS chimes again. HYD sys B, press low. No, 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 Marcus whispers. System B pressure is now dropping too. 2,800 psi and falling, if both hydraulic systems fail completely. The 777 enters manual reversion, a mode where the pilots have direct mechanical control of the flight surfaces with no power assist. It's possible to fly, but it requires immense physical strength and systems knowledge Marcus doesn't possess. He's read about it in manuals. He's never done it. Paige Scott appears in the cockpit doorway, her face pale. Marcus, what's happening? Both hydraulic systems are degrading. If we lose them completely, I'll have manual reversion. He doesn't look at her. can't take his eyes off the instruments. I've never flown manual reversion on any aircraft, let alone a 777. What do you need? Marcus closes his eyes for 1 second, opens them, makes the hardest decision of his life. I need Kesha Washington, right now. Page nods and disappears. In the cabin, Grant Harlan is still standing guard in the aisle, but his earlier confidence has eroded. The fear is visible now in his posture, his white knuckles the way his eyes dart to the cockpit door every few seconds. Page approaches him. Mr. Harlan, the pilot, is requesting Kesha Washington in the cockpit immediately. Both pilots are down. Hydraulics are failing. He needs help. She's not qualified. We're out of options. Page's voice is steel. Sit down, now, or I will have the air marshal restrain you. Grant didn't know there was an air marshal on board. There isn't. But the bluff works. He sinks into his seat, face ashen. Page moves to row 2. Miss Washington, the cockpit needs you. Kesha unbuckles, stands. Her movements are calm, economical. No rush, but no hesitation. She walks down the aisle. Passengers stare, some with hope, others with horror. Grant's voice follows her, broken now. If you crash this plane, their blood is on your hands. Kesha doesn't respond. She steps through the cockpit door. Page closes it behind her. Marcus looks up from the instruments. His eyes are red-rimmed with stress. Please tell me you know what you're doing. Kesha scans the panel ECAS warnings, hydraulic pressures, airspeed discrepancies in 3 seconds. Her voice is steady, professional. I know what I'm doing. Talk to me. What have we got? Both pilots down, Marcus says. Rapidly, the words tumbling over each other. Pitot tubes iced unreliable airspeed. Hydraulic system A at 1,800 psi and falling. System B at 2,400 and falling. If we hit 1,200 psi on both, we're in manual reversion. I've never done that. Not in any aircraft. Kesha slides into the right seat. First officer position, where Tara Kim is now slumped, semi-conscious. She gently moves Tara's hands off the yoke and begins scanning instruments with the rapid precision of someone who's done this 1,000 times under worse conditions. Okay, first things first, you're doing fine. You're keeping us in the air. That's step 1. Her voice has a quality that Marcus recognizes from his own training days, the instructor's calm. What's our current position? Marcus glances at the navigation display. 380 miles northwest of Anchorage. We're being vectored direct. Fuel, 2 hours. Maybe less with the extra drag from ice. Weather at Anchorage. Haven't checked. Kesha pulls up the ATIS Automatic Terminal Information Service. Her fingers move across the flight management computer with practiced ease, navigating menus Marcus has barely explored. Anchorage current conditions winds 050 at 25, gusting 40. Temperature -8 Celsius. Visibility 10 miles. Ceiling scattered at 5,000. That's good, it's VMC. Visual meteorological conditions. She can see the runway. The ECAS chimes. HYD says B press. Critical. Kesha's eyes snap to the hydraulic display. System B, 1,400 psi. Okay. Marcus, we need to declare an emergency. Squawk 7700. Tell Oakland we need priority handling emergency equipment standing by, and we're continuing to Anchorage with degraded flight controls. Marcus changes the transponder code to 7700. Oakland American 214, heavy declaring emergency. Squawk 7700. Dual hydraulic system failure in progress. Requesting priority to Anchorage. American 214 heavy, Oakland copies emergency, Squawk observed. You're cleared direct Anchorage, descend pilot's discretion. Emergency equipment will be standing by. Say your intentions. Before Marcus can respond, Kesha keys the mic, her first radio transmission. Oakland Center, American 2E14. We'll maintain current altitude until closer. Then execute a high-rate descent to minimize time in icing conditions. Request block altitude clearance from flight level 150 to current altitude. 214. Heavy cleared block altitude flight level 150 through 370. Descend pilot's discretion. Marcus stares at her. How did you know to ask for block altitude? Gives us maneuvering room if we need it. Kesha pulls up the quick reference handbook on the center display. Unreliable airspeed procedure. Page 11.3. We fly attitude and power. Pitch 2 degrees, nose up power setting 82% N1. That's our baseline for cruise at this weight. How do you know our weight? I counted passengers during boarding. Estimated average weight standard bags. We're around 550,000 pounds, plus fuel. She glances at Marcus. You said you're a 737 captain. 20 years. Then you know the fundamentals are the same. Physics doesn't change between aircraft types. Lift, weight, thrust, drag. We just need to manage them manually. The hydraulic pressure continues dropping. System A 1600 psi. System B 1200 psi. They're at the threshold. Kesha, Marcus says quietly, when we hit full reversion, how bad is it? It's heavy. Really heavy. Like wrestling a bear. Every input requires 3 times the force, and there's no trim assist, so you're constantly fighting to hold altitude and heading. Can you do it? Kesha's hand moves to her hoodie pocket. She's reaching for something, some talisman maybe. But her hand freezes. The pocket is empty. Her dog tags, they're gone. In the cabin, Paige Scott is kneeling in the aisle near row 2. She'd found the tags earlier kicked aside by Grant Harlan during the confrontation. She'd pocketed them, intending to return them. Now she pulls them out, reading the stamped metal in the dim cabin light. Washington, Kesha M., OPAS, C-17A, pilot, 398, AEW, OPAS. Blood type, but also officer. She's not enlisted. She's or was an officer. A captain based on the boarding pass designation. Paige looks up, catches Dr. Peterson's eye from row 4. She holds up the tags silently. He nods understanding. He'd suspected. Now he knows. In the cockpit, Kesha answers Marcus's question. Yes, I can do it. I've done it before. In a C-17, in worse conditions than this. The ICA's display flashes red. HYD Swiss a fail. HYD Swiss be fail. Manual reversion. The yoke goes heavy in Marcus's hands, instantly dramatically. He gasps, pulling hard to keep the nose level. Holy! I've got it. Kesha takes the yoke. Her face tightens with the effort, but her movements are controlled. She adjusts the trim wheel with her other hand, balancing the forces. You're on thrust and flaps. Call out speeds and altitudes. Keep me honest. Marcus watches her fight the aircraft into submission. You've really done this before. Afghanistan, 2021. Lost both hydraulic systems to small arms fire. Flew a C-17 on manual reversion for 40 minutes. Landed on a dirt strip with 640 refugees on board. She doesn't look at him. Can't take her eyes off the instruments. Compared to that, this is a calm day. Manual reversion is hell. Every control input requires Kesha's full strength. The yoke doesn't move smoothly, it fights back, resisting, requiring constant pressure. Her forearms burn within 30 seconds. Her lower back, where the compression fracture never quite healed, right begins sending warning signals. Sharp, insistent. Marcus, I need a descent plan, she says through gritted teeth. We can't stay at this altitude. Ice is too heavy. Oakland's given us priority. We can go anytime. Not yet. We need to be closer. Fuel burn is critical, and in manual reversion, I'm using more power to maintain level flight. We've got 90 minutes, maybe less. The weather radar updates. Marcus stares at it, his face going pale. Kesha, we've got a problem. She glances at the display. A massive storm system is building between them and Anchorage, not just clouds. Embedded thunderstorms. Icing up to 45,000 feet. Wind shear. The kind of weather that commercial flights avoid at all costs. Oakland Center is losing us on radar, Marcus adds. They said coverage gaps due to weather. We're intermittent, so they're flying blind, no reliable airspeed degraded radar, intermittent ATC contact manual flight controls, and a weather system ahead that would challenge a fully functional aircraft. Kesha's left hand starts to tremor. Not much, a slight quiver, but Marcus sees it. Your hand. Old injury. I'm fine. Kesha. The tremor worsens. Her grip on the yoke slips for half a second. The aircraft rolls 3 degrees right before she corrects. Marcus grabs the yoke. I can help. No, I have it. Her voice is tight. I just need a minute. In the cabin, Grant Harlan can hear the strain in her voice through the open cockpit door. He stands, moves to the doorway, sees her struggling, sees the tremor. She's falling apart, he shouts. Get her out of that seat. Dr. Peterson, her injury is spinal, not neurological. She's cleared for flight. Then why is her hand shaking? Kesha's breathing has become ragged. 478 has dissolved into short, sharp gasps. The pain in her lower back is screaming now. The aircraft's nose dips 2 degrees. She pulls it back up, but the effort costs her. Marcus keys the PA, his voice breaking. This is the acting pilot. I need everyone to remain seated and quiet. We're working through some technical difficulties. Captain Washington has full control. But even as he says it, he's not sure it's true. The ECAS displays new information. Fuel imbalance. Left wing. Heavy ice has formed asymmetrically. The left wing weighs more than the right. Kesha has to input constant right aileron just to fly straight. Marcus, she says quietly, if my hand gives out at touchdown, you'll need to... You're not going to fail. I haven't flown in 3 years. Not since Afghanistan. Not since... She doesn't finish. You're not going to lose us. Kesha closes her eyes, breathes. 4 counts in. 7 hold. 8 out. The tremor lessens. Not gone, but manageable. Okay, she says. Let's finish this. But as she reopens her eyes, the radar shows the storm ahead, growing spreading. And Oakland Center comes over the radio with words no pilot wants to hear. American 214. Heavy anchorage is now reporting deteriorating conditions. Winds 50 knots, gusting 70. Freezing rain. Visibility dropping. Recommend alternate. Marcus looks at Kesha. We don't have fuel for an alternate. She stares at the weather ahead, the storm that stands between them, and the only runway they can reach. Then we go through it. We've just hit the most desperate moment of this flight. 2 pilots down hydraulics, completely failed instruments, unreliable, and the one person who might save them is fighting her own body's breaking point. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Kesha Washington has what it takes to fly through that storm, or has her injury just sentenced all 183 people to death? Your answer might surprise you after part 2. The fuel gauge shows 1.4 hours remaining. The storm ahead, 280 miles wide. And Kesha's left hand trembles steady and relentless against the yoke. The cockpit door remains closed. Behind it, Kesha Washington fights a 550,000-pound aircraft through manual reversion while her body threatens to betray her. In the cabin, the standoff has frozen into something brittle and dangerous. Paige Scott makes a decision. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out the dog tags, the ones Grant Harlan kicked aside during the confrontation an hour ago. She walks to row 1 where Grant sits rigid, his knuckles white on the armrests. She holds the tags in front of his face. Mr. Harlan. Her voice is low controlled, but carries the weight of 12 years watching passengers at their worst. These are hers. Read them. Grant's eyes focus on the stamped metal Washington Kesha M, OPAS, C-17A, Pilot, 398 AEW. His face goes slack. That could be fake. Anyone can buy. She's a military officer, Paige interrupts. Captain rank, C-17 pilot. She wasn't lying. You were wrong. From the cockpit, Marcus Reed's voice comes over the intercom, ragged, desperate. I don't care if she's lying. I need someone who knows multi-engine ice procedures right now. We've got maybe 60 minutes of fuel, and I'm hand-flying an aircraft I've never touched before. If she can help, I need her. Dr. Peterson stands from row 4, his military bearing sharp despite his age. Son, I'm a retired colonel. I'm ordering you to stand down and let that woman do her job. You have no authority over me, Grant says, but his voice has lost its conviction. The cabin turns on him. The woman in 3C, let her try. What's the alternative? We all die because of your ego. The man in 5A. My wife is on this plane. My kids are waiting for us in Tokyo. If she can save us, I don't care if she's wearing a garbage bag. Marcus Reed from 6A. The commercial pilot stands and addresses the cabin. I've been flying for 20 years. I saw her calculations. I heard her terminology. She's the real deal. Mr. Harlan, you're risking 183 lives because you can't admit you were wrong. Vanessa Crane, her Instagram bravado completely shattered, touches Grant's shoulder. Grant, please, I want to go home. Brad Simmons, the attorney. Grant, if we survive this and it comes out that you blocked qualified assistance, the liability issues alone. Derek Joe. He's right. Let her go. Grant Harlan sits in his first-class seat, surrounded by the wreckage of his certainty. The scotch has worn off. The fear is fully present now, sharp cold, undeniable. He's been wrong before in his life, but never when the stakes were this high. Fine. The word comes out strangled. But when this goes wrong, it's on her. Paige doesn't wait for him to change his mind. She moves to the cockpit door, knocks twice. Kesha, we're opening the door. The door swings open. Kesha is visible in the right seat, both hands on the yoke, her face tight with concentration and pain. Sweat beads on her forehead despite the cool cockpit air. The tremor in her left hand is worse now, visible even from the doorway. Marcus looks back, sees the concern on Paige's face. She's holding it together. Barely. But I don't know how much longer. Paige holds up the dog tags. These are yours. Kesha glances at them, a flash of something recognition memory loss crossing her face. Keep them safe. I'll get them after we land. You're sure you can do this? Paige asks quietly. Kesha's response is steady, despite the tremor, despite the pain radiating from her spine. I've done worse. Close the door. Seal the cockpit. We're going through the weather. Paige closes the door, turns to face the cabin. Grant Harlan is staring at his hands, perhaps seeing them shake for the first time, his own fear made visible. The rest of the passengers sit in silence. Prayers whispered in a dozen languages, hands held across aisles, strangers becoming family in the crucible of shared mortality. In seat 2A, Kesha's empty seat sits her backpack. Inside it, the hand-drawn approach plate, the no AA weather forecasts, the notes written in precise aviator shorthand. Nobody's laughing now. The cockpit is a cage of amber warnings and red alerts. The ECAS screen scrolls through failure messages like a litany of disaster, manual reversion, HYD SIS-A fail, HYD SIS-B fail, airspeed unreliable, fuel imbalance. Kesha's hands never stop moving. She's trimming constantly the manual trim wheel, requiring precise inputs to balance the forces on the yoke. Her left hand trembles against the control column, but her right hand is rock steady on the trim wheel, compensating. Marcus, she says, her voice level, despite the physical strain. I need you to pull up the QRH Quick Reference Handbook. Unreliable airspeed procedure. It should be in the electronic library. Marcus navigates the center display, finds it. Page 11.3, got it. Read me the power settings for our current weight and altitude. Marcus scans the chart. Pitch 2 degrees, nose up power, 82% N1. That'll give you approximately 280 knots indicated. Good, that's our baseline. Now watch the attitude indicator and call out any deviations. I need you to be my cross-check. How do you know all this? Marcus can't help asking. You said C-17, but that's a military cargo plane. This is a commercial wide-body. Different manufacturer, different systems. Physics doesn't change, Kesha interrupts gently. Lift, weight, thrust, drag. The principles are identical. The C-17 and the 797 both use fly-by-wire architecture with mechanical backup. I've trained on hydraulic failures. I've flown manual reversion, just not in 3 years. What happened 3 years ago? Kesha's jaw tightens. Afghanistan. Bad landing. Spinal compression fracture. Medical discharge. But we're not talking about that right now. The radio crackles. American 214, Heavy Oakland Center. Confirm your current status and intentions. Marcus reaches for the transmit switch, but Kesha's hand moves faster muscle memory, overriding protocol. She keys the mic. Oakland Center, American 214 Heavy. We're maintaining flight level 370 in manual reversion with unreliable airspeed. Request direct routing to Anchorage and priority approach. 214. Heavy Oakland Center copy manual reversion. Cleared direct Anchorage. Descend pilot's discretion. Say souls on board and fuel remaining. 214. Heavy souls on board 183 fuel remaining 1.2 hours. A pause. Then 214, that's pretty tight. Confirm you can make Anchorage. Kesha looks at the fuel display, does the calculation instantly. Oakland will make it. But we need everything priority handling runway foam emergency equipment staged. This will be a no-flap high-speed landing due to control limitations. Marcus stares at her. How did you just calculate that combat cargo operations? You learn to do fuel math in your head when you're landing in places where there's no second chance. She releases the transmit switch, and immediately her hand returns to the yoke. The aircraft wants to roll left, the asymmetric ice loading, and she's fighting it constantly. Marcus, I need you to do something for me. Switch the radio to guard frequency, 121.5. Why that's emergency only? Trust me, please. Marcus turns the radio selector to 121.5 MHz, the universal emergency frequency that all aircraft and military installations monitor. Okay, it's set. Kesha takes a breath. This is the moment of truth, the reveal she's been avoiding for 3 years. She keys the microphone. Elmendorf Tower, this is Nomad 7. Request priority handling. Silence. 3 seconds. 5. Then a male voice sharp with surprise. Say again call sign, Nomad 7. Authentication, Tango Charlie 72 Echo Niner. The silence stretches longer this time. 8 seconds. Somewhere in Alaska at Elmendorf Air Force Base, someone is pulling up records cross-referencing a call sign that hasn't been used in years. Marcus is staring at her. Nomad 7, that's a military call sign. It was mine, Kesha says quietly. 398th Air Expeditionary Wing. I flew C-17s, 4 combat tours, 2,400 hours in type, including 47 tactical landings under fire. You're not just a cargo pilot, Marcus breathes. You're... The radio crackles to life. A new voice, female authoritative Nomad 7. This is Commander Sarah Rodriguez, Alaska, Air Defense Sector. Confirm your identity. Kesha's voice steadies, taking on the formal precision of military communication. Commander Kesha, Washington Captain 398th Air, Expeditionary Wing. Last duty station, Bagram, Afghanistan. Separated 18 months ago. I'm currently aboard American Airlines Flight 214 civilian passenger, assisting with dual pilot incapacitation and complete hydraulic system failure. Another pause. Background noise typing urgent conversations. Then, Nomad 7 stand by for authentication confirmation. Marcus watches her face. The professional mask has cracked slightly, emotion bleeding through. This radio call is costing her something. He can see it in the tension around her eyes, the way her breathing has shifted. Nomad 7. Commander Rodriguez returns, her voice different now, warmer, respectful. Authentication confirmed. Your flight record is impressive. What's your situation? And for the first time since the crisis began, Kesha Washington allows herself a small, grim smile. Commander, it's complicated. Nomad 7 advise full situation. Commander Rodriguez's voice carries the clipped efficiency of military operations. In the background, Marcus can hear other voices, controllers, officers, the machinery of air defense scrambling to assess the threat. Kesha keys the mic, her tactical briefing instinctive despite years away. Commander American 214, Heavy Boeing 777 300ER, current position 320 nautical miles northwest of Anchorage. Flight level 370. Both rated pilots incapacitated, food poisoning. Complete hydraulic system failure, manual reversion active. pitot tube blockage, unreliable airspeed. Severe icing conditions. Fuel remaining 1.1 hours. Assisting rated 737 captain who is unqualified on type. Rodriguez? Copy all. Nomad 7, confirm you're in the right seat. Affirm. Civilian passenger, but I have stick. 737 captain is handling radios and systems monitoring. Understood. Stand by. The frequency goes silent. Marcus glances at Kesha. What's happening? They're pulling my service jacket, confirming I'm who I say I am. And if they don't believe you, then we're on our own. 60 seconds pass. The yoke fights Kesha constantly. The asymmetric ice loading requires continuous right aileron input. Her forearms burn. The tremor in her left hand has steadied slightly, but it's still there, a visible reminder of the ejection that ended her career. The radio crackles. Nomad 7, this is Commander Rodriguez. Authentication complete. A pause. Captain Washington, your service record has been verified. 4 combat tours, 2,400 hours, C-17 time, including 47 tactical landings under fire. Distinguished Flying Cross. Air Medal with Valor. Kabul Airlift, August 2021. You evacuated 640 refugees in an overweight C-17 with single hydraulic system. In the cabin, passengers who can hear the cockpit radio, Marcus had left the PA system partially open, go silent. Dr. Peterson's eyes close briefly. I knew it. Grant Harlan in Seat 1A stares at the seat back in front of him. The words penetrate like bullets. Distinguished Flying Cross. Air Medal with Valor. 640 refugees. Rodriguez continues. Nomad 7 were scrambling 2 F-22s from Elmendorf for visual escort. They'll be with you in approximately 10 minutes. We're also coordinating full emergency response runway foam, crash fire rescue medical standing by. You are cleared direct Anchorage, expect ILS runway 05. Current winds 050 at 28, gusting 43. Kesha does the mental calculation instantly. Commander, that's a 38-knot crosswind, steady state, gusts to 43. That exceeds 777 demonstrated crosswind limits. Copy Nomad 7. It's the only runway available. All others are closed due to icing conditions. Understood. We'll take it. Kesha's voice doesn't waver. Nomad 7 requires single-engine approach profile due to control degradation. Request airspace cleared within 50-mile radius. Consider it done. Nomad 7. Rodriguez's voice softens slightly. It's good to hear your voice again. Bring them home, Captain. Kesha's throat tightens. Copy that, Commander. She releases the transmit button. Marcus has been listening, stunned. You saved 640 people in Afghanistan. Kabul Airport, August 15th, 2021. Taliban was closing in. We loaded until the cargo bay couldn't hold anymore, took off overweight by 80,000 pounds. Single hydraulic system lost the other to small arms fire on approach. Landed on manual reversion with 11 feet of runway remaining. She pauses. Blew both main gear tires. Compression fracture in my spine from the hard landing G-forces. Ended my career. And you're doing it again, right now. Not by choice, but yeah. Through the open PA system, the cabin has heard everything. Paige Scott stands in the galley, tears streaming down her face. She keys the cabin, PA. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman flying this aircraft is Captain Kesha Washington, United States Air Force, Distinguished Flying Cross recipient. She saved 640 lives in Afghanistan. She's going to save ours, too. The cabin erupts, not in applause, but in something deeper. Prayers intensify. Strangers grip hands across aisles. Vanessa Crane is sobbing into her hands, her phone forgotten. Derek Joe has his eyes closed, whispering words his mother taught him as a child. Brad Simmons sits rigid, processing the enormity of his misjudgment. And Grant Harlan sits alone in 1A, staring at the dog tags Paige had placed on his tray table before returning to her duties. Washington, Kesha M., OPOS, C-17A, pilot, 398 AEW. He picks them up. The metal is worn smooth, years of wear against skin, tucked under flight suits carried through war zones. Real. Undeniably real. I was wrong, he whispers to no one. God forgive me, I was wrong. In the cockpit, Kesha adjusts trim, fighting the constant left roll tendency. Marcus, I need you to brief the approach. We're going to do something that's not in the commercial pilot handbook. What? Combat assault approach. Steep descent through the eye of the storm. If we hit the timing right, we'll drop through calm air and pop out visual with the runway. If we miss... She doesn't finish. Marcus swallows hard. And you've done this before. Helmand Province, Syria, Yemen. Different aircraft, same principle. She glances at him. You trust me. He looks at her. This woman in a stained hoodie fighting a 777 through manual reversion, her hand trembling, but her eyes absolutely clear. Yeah, I trust you. American 214 descend and maintain flight level 240. Contact anchorage approach on 119.3. Marcus switches frequencies checks and anchorage approach American 214, heavy with you, descending to flight level 240. 214, heavy anchorage approach radar contact. Continue descent to $10,000. Expect vectors for ILS runway 05. Winds now 060 at 32, gusting 45. Kesha pulls the throttles back, not to idle, but to a precisely calculated power setting. The nose drops. Not the gentle descent passengers are used to, but a deliberate aggressive angle. 3,000 feet per minute. The altimeter unwinds rapidly. FL 370, FL 340, FL 310. In the cabin, passengers feel the pressure change immediately. Ears pop. Some gasp. The Anderson family in row 8 grips each other, the children's eyes wide with fear. Paige Scott speaks calmly over the PA. This is a controlled descent. Captain Washington knows what she's doing. Remain seated and seated, belts fastened. The turbulence hits at FL 250. Not the moderate chop they experienced earlier. This is severe Category Victor on the pilot scale. The aircraft bucks violently, dropping 50 feet, then surging up 30, rolling left, then right. Overhead, bins pop open despite being latched. The cabin lights flicker. Someone screams. Kesha's hands move in constant, minute corrections. She's not fighting the turbulence, she's riding it, using the energy converting vertical motion into forward progress. It's a technique taught to military cargo pilots for hostile environments. Let the aircraft move but control the vector. FL 200. Marcus calls out, his voice tight. Vertical speed, 3,500 feet per minute. Airspeed. He looks at the unreliable indicators, then at the power settings. Estimated 280 knots. The aircraft rolls sharply right 15 degrees. Kesha corrects with left aileron, but the yoke slips in her left hand. The tremor has worsened. Sweat runs down her temple, despite the cool cockpit air. Kesha, your hand. I know. Her voice is strained. She pulls with her right hand, helping her left. The aircraft levels. Mostly. At FL 180, they punch through the cloud deck into clear air for exactly 8 seconds. Long enough to see the storm ahead, a wall of gray-black clouds stretching from the ocean surface to 40,000 feet. Lightning flickers in its heart, the kind of weather that makes veteran pilots choose alternate airports. Then they're back in cloud. Ice hammers the fuselage audible, even through the insulation like gravel thrown against aluminum. The impact is unrelenting. FL 150, still descending. The turbulence intensifies. Kesha's breathing has changed. Marcus notices it shorter, sharper. Not the controlled 478 pattern she maintained earlier. Her face has gone pale, a sheen of sweat visible on her forehead. "Talk to me," Marcus says urgently. "What's wrong?" "Old injury." The words come through gritted teeth. "Spinal compression, L4, L5. When I pull hard on the yoke, disc presses on nerve, makes my left hand unreliable." FL 100. The turbulence suddenly stops. Dead calm. They've entered the eye. Through the windscreen, stars are visible overhead. Below Anchorage's lights shimmer like scattered diamonds. The runway, a ribbon of white foam already laid down by crash crews, is visible at their 11 o'clock, maybe 18 miles. "There," Kesha says. "That's our window." But her left hand is shaking violently now. Not a tremor, a spasm. She can't grip the yoke properly. The aircraft begins a slow, uncommanded roll to the right. The autopilot is off manual reversion, has no autopilot. Only Kesha's hands. And her left hand isn't responding. "I'm losing it," she gasps. Not the aircraft. Her hand. Her body is failing her. Marcus reaches for the yoke. "I'll help." "No. If we both grip, we'll overcorrect. I just need..." She's breathing hard now, fighting pain that radiates from her lower back like fire. "I need 30 seconds. I can do this. 30 seconds. A memory crashes into her mind uninvited. Bagram Airfield, 2021, C-17 on final approach. Taliban small arms fire, stitching the fuselage. Hydraulic system B failure. Red warning screaming. Co-pilot's voice, "Kesha, I can't hold it." Her reply, "I've got it. Stay with me." The runway rushing up. Too fast, too heavy. The impact, violent bone crushing, her spine compressing, pain, blackness. She snaps back to the present. Her left hand is useless, curled, trembling, unable to grip, but her right hand is on the trim wheel. She spins it, balancing the forces using trim to fly instead of raw control input. The aircraft levels. Not perfect, but flyable. FL 100 level, Marcus announces. "Kesha, how are you?" "Getting visual on the runway," she interrupts. "F-22s should be here any second. I need you to take over radios. Completely. I'm flying only. Call everything. I'll execute." Her voice is steady again. The pain hasn't lessened, but she's compartmentalized it, locked it in a box where it can't interfere with the mission. Because that's what this is. A mission. And missions don't care about pain. Radio. American 214. Heavy Raptor 41. Flight checking. In visual on your 6 o'clock. 2 F-22 Raptors slide into formation, one on each wingtip, close enough that passengers can see the pilots' helmets. The fighter's presence is both reassuring and terrifying visual confirmation that yes, this is as serious as it feels. Raptor 41, American 214. Marcus transmits, "Thanks for the company." 214, Raptor 41. "We've got you all the way down. Nomad 7. The fighter pilot's voice shifts recognition, respect. "Ma'am, we're honored to escort you home." Kesha keys the mic with her right hand. Her left is still locked in spasm, useless. Raptor 41, Nomad 7. "Appreciate the escort. Can you confirm the approach path? I'm seeing weather ahead." Nomad 7, affirmative. Storm cell extends from surface to FL 450, but there's a slot eye of the low-pressure system. 6-mile diameter clear hole at your 11 o'clock bearing 045 18 miles. You thread it, you'll drop through clean air pop-out visual with runway environment at 3,000 feet. Marcus studies the weather radar. The slot is there a perfect circle of green, clear surrounded by red and magenta severe weather. Threading a 6-mile gap in manual reversion with unreliable instruments, and one functioning hand is asking for a miracle. That's impossible, he breathes. No, Kesha says quietly. It's tactical. Raptor 41 confirms slot dimensions and coordinates. Nomad 7 slot center at 61 degrees north, 149 degrees west, diameter 6 miles. You've got maybe 8 minutes before it closes. The system's rotating. 6 miles diameter. At 280 knots, they'll cross it in 77 seconds. Less than 90 seconds to drop from 10,000 feet to 3,000 feet through the slot without hitting the surrounding weather. Marcus. Kesha says, her voice carrying absolute authority. Now, I need you to trust me completely. What I'm about to do, it's not in any commercial manual. It's combat cargo procedure. I'm going to roll us into a 30-degree bank and spiral down through that slot. Spiral, Marcus's voice cracks. You're going to spiral a 7707. It's called a tactical overhead pattern. Fighters do it all the time. C-17s do it into forward operating bases. Keeps you in a tight radius, controlled descent, minimal horizontal drift. With manual reversion, with one hand, I don't have a choice. She adjusts her grip, right hand on yoke, now using her thigh to brace her left forearm against the control column for stability. Call out altitude every 1,000 feet. Call out bank angle every 5 degrees. Be my instruments. She rolls the aircraft left, not gently, decisively. The bank indicator shows 10 degrees, 20, 30. Passengers scream. The left wingtip points at the ocean. The right wingtip points at the stars. Through the windows, Anchorage's lights rotate like a carousel. Bank 30 degrees. Marcus calls. Altitude 9,500. Kesha pulls back on the yoke, increasing the angle of attack, tightening the turn. The G-forces press everyone into their seats. 1.2 Gs. Commercial aircraft don't pull Gs like this. This is military flying. Entering the slot, Raptor 41 reports. Nomad 7, you're tracking centerline. Looking good. The turbulence vanishes. They're inside the eye-calm air stars, visible overhead through breaks in the clouds. The spiral continues. Anchorage rotates below the runway, visible now growing larger with each circuit. Altitude 8 Sauren. Bank 30 degrees. Descent rate 2 solar feet per minute. Kesha's right arm shakes with effort. The manual reversion requires constant pressure. Any lapse, and the aircraft's nose will drop, or the bank will steepen. Her back screams. Her left hand is dead weight, but her right hand holds steady. 7,000 feet, bank 28 degrees. Banking up, Kesha announces. She needs to steepen slightly to stay inside the slot. 35 degrees. The cabin tilts further. Someone vomits. A child cries. Paige Scott is braced in her jump seat, reciting the emergency evacuation procedures in her head, preparing for the worst. Grant Harlan, in 1A, watches through his window as the ground spins closer. He's clutching the dog tag so hard they've left impressions in his palm. He's praying, really praying for the first time since his mother's funeral. 6,000 feet. Bank 35 degrees. Nomad 7, you're drifting right. Correcting back 3 degrees. Kesha adjusts a tiny input with her right hand. The aircraft responds sluggishly, but obediently. 5,000 feet. The runway is directly below, now visible through the left side windows. Foam covers it like snow. Emergency vehicles line both sides, fire trucks, ambulances, their lights flashing red and blue. Every piece of emergency equipment on the field is staged and waiting. 4,000 feet. Bank 30 degrees. Descent rate 2,500. Rolling out, Kesha announces. She begins leveling the wings. The horizon stops spinning. The nose comes up slightly. The spiral has worked. They're perfectly positioned for a straight-in approach to runway 05. 3,000 feet wings level, Marcus calls. Runway in sight, 12 o'clock, 5 miles. Kesha's breathing is ragged, but her voice is steady. Anchorage Tower, American 214. Heavy visual. Runway 05, request clearance to land. American 214. Heavy Anchorage Tower, cleared to land runway 05. Winds 060 at 35, gusting 48. Emergency equipment standing by. 48 knots. The gusts have increased. Kesha does the instant calculation crosswind component, 43 knots. 8 knots over limits. Marcus, we're landing, no matter what. Call out airspeeds, I'll fly visual and power settings. We're coming in hot. No flaps with manual reversion, too much drag. We'll touch down around 180 knots instead of 150. That's okay. The runway's 10,500 feet. We'll use every inch. The runway centerline fills the windscreen. White dashes against black asphalt. Foam glistening under floodlights. Crosswind hits hard from the right. The aircraft yaws left. Kesha counters with right rudder, using asymmetric thrust to hold centerline. Her right leg is cramping from the constant pressure. Her left hand is still useless, curled in her lap. 2,000 feet, speed 200 knots. Marcus calls. Power back to 70%. Kesha orders. Marcus pulls the throttles. The aircraft slows, but not much. The momentum of 550,000 pounds fights every attempt to change its state. 1,000 feet, speed 190. The runway threshold passes below. Kesha holds the aircraft 30 feet above the surface, bleeding speed. 185 knots. 180, 500 feet, speed 180. Another gust hits 50 knots from the right. The right wing lifts sharply. Kesha slams left aileron, her right hand screaming with effort, and the wing drops. Level. Almost. 100 feet. The ground rushes up. Foam-covered asphalt. Flashing lights. Faces behind fire truck windows. 50 feet. Kesha pulls the throttles to idle with her right elbow. She can't release the yoke. The aircraft settles. The main gear touches thump hard, but controlled. Passengers jolt forward against seatbelts. Spoilers! Kesha gasps. Marcus deploys them. The wing spoilers pop up, killing lift, putting weight on the wheels. Thrust reversers. Won't work with manual reversion, Marcus says. We're on brakes only. Kesha's right foot mashes the brake pedals. The aircraft decelerates, but slowly. Too slowly. They're still moving at 140 knots. The runway end is visible approaching. 10,000 feet of runway consumed. 9,000 feet remaining. 120 knots. 7,000 feet remaining. 100 knots. 5,000 feet remaining. 80 knots. 3,000 feet remaining. The overrun area safety zone beyond the runway is visible. They might not stop in time. 60 knots. Kesha's foot is pressing the brake pedal to the floor. Maximum braking. The tires are smoking. The smell penetrates even into the sealed cockpit. 1,000 feet remaining, 40 knots. 500 feet remaining, 20 knots. The aircraft stops. 47 feet from the runway end. 47 feet between success and disaster. For 3 seconds, nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Then Kesha releases the yoke. Her right hand uncurls slowly, cramping the muscles locked from sustained effort. Her left hand remains curled in her lap, useless. Marcus stares at her. We just shut down the engines, Kesha says quietly. We're home. The engines wind down to silence. Through the cockpit windows, emergency vehicles surround the aircraft fire trucks. Ambulances, their lights painting the fuselage in alternating red and blue. Foam still covers the runway, glistening under floodlights. Marcus runs through shutdown procedures, his hands shaking now that the adrenaline is fading. Fuel pumps off. Hydraulics, well, already off. APU starting for power. Kesha sits motionless, her right hand still cramped around the yoke. Her left hand remains curled uselessly in her lap. Dr. Peterson will later confirm it's temporary nerve compression, the spinal injury under extreme stress. It'll recover in 6 hours. But right now she can't move it. The radio crackles not Anchorage Tower, but a new voice. Military frequency. Nomad 7, this is Iceman Actual. Colonel James Chen, 3rd Wing. Commander Elmendorf Air Force Base. Welcome home, Captain. Kesha closes her eyes briefly. Iceman Actual Nomad 7. Thank you for the runway. Nomad, we pulled your full service jacket. 4 combat tours. 2,400 hours C-17. 47 tactical landings under fire. Kabul airlift, you saved 640 souls that day. Tonight you saved 183 more. The colonel's voice carries across the open frequency. Everyone's listening Anchorage Tower. The F-22 escorts ground crews. Ladies and gentlemen aboard American 214, the woman who just landed your aircraft is one of the finest pilots the United States Air Force has ever produced. You are alive because of her. In the cabin, Paige Scott keys the PA, her voice breaking with emotion. Ladies and gentlemen, we are safely on the ground. Please remain seated until the aircraft comes to a complete stop and the seatbelt sign is turned off. But nobody's moving anyway. They're stunned into silence, the kind that follows miracles. Grant Harlan sits in 1A, still clutching Kesha's dog tags. His face is wet. He didn't realize he was crying. Around him, passengers are embracing sobbing with relief. Vanessa Crane has deleted every social media post, her hands shaking too hard to type an apology. Derek Joe stares at his tablet. The fraud report he'd drafted sits unsent, accusatory and pathetic in its ignorance. Marcus unbuckles, moves to help Kesha. Can you stand? Give me a minute. Her voice is hoarse. The pain in her back is excruciating now that the mission focus has released its grip. But she's alive. They're all alive. The cockpit door opens. Dr. Peterson enters medical bag in hand. He doesn't ask permission, just begins checking Kesha's vitals, examining her left hand with practiced efficiency. Nerve compression, temporary. You'll regain function within 6 hours. He looks at her with something like awe. Captain Washington, I flew with C-17 pilots in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've never seen flying like that. Not in combat, not anywhere. Kesha meets his eyes. I had help. Marcus kept me honest. You landed a 777 in manual reversion in a 43-knot crosswind with one hand. Dr. Peterson's voice is firm. That's not help. That's heroism. Outside stairs are being positioned. Fire crews approach cautiously. The aircraft is safe, but protocols demand caution. The F-22s make one final pass overhead, a salute before breaking formation and returning to base. Paige Scott appears in the cockpit doorway. She holds out Kesha's dog tags. These belong to you, ma'am. Kesha takes them with her right hand. Her left still won't close properly. The metal is warm from being clutched in Grant Harlan's palm for the last hour. She loops them around her neck, feeling their familiar weight settle against her chest. Thank you for believing me, Kesha says quietly. Thank you for saving us, Paige replies. As medical personnel board to evacuate Captain Torres and First Officer Kim, both conscious now stable, embarrassed Kesha remains in the right seat. Marcus has gone to brief the NTSB investigators. She's alone with her thoughts. The memories come unbidden. Kabul Airport, August 15, 2021. The C-17's cargo bay packed with 640 Afghan refugees, men, women, children, infants. 80,000 pounds overweight. Taliban small arms fire stitching the fuselage during approach. Hydraulic system B failure. Red warnings cascading. Her co-pilot's voice, Kesha, we're not going to make it. Her reply, yes, we are. The runway rushing up too fast, too heavy, too damaged. The impact like hitting concrete. Her spine compressing L4, L5 vertebrae fracturing. Pain beyond description. But the aircraft stopping. 700 feet remaining. The cargo door opening. 640 people evacuating safely. Medics finding her slumped in the seat, unable to stand. The diagnosis: compression fracture. Career ending. The choice: medical discharge or push through recovery and risk permanent paralysis. Her mother in Chicago, stage 4 cancer, needing full-time care. The decision made itself. Separation papers signed, uniform packed away, dog tags kept, flying only in memories. Until tonight. Kesha touches the dog tags around her neck. The metal is worn smooth from years against skin. She whispers to the empty cockpit. I kept the promise, Mom. I kept people safe. Her mother died 3 days ago. The funeral was in Anchorage. That's why Kesha was flying home. The Northwestern hoodie she's wearing was her mother's gift when she joined ROTC. She wore it because it smelled like her mother's perfume. And Grant Harlan had mocked it. Airport hangar. 2 hours post-landing, passengers have been processed, statements given. Grant approaches Kesha, who's being examined by Air Force medical personnel. Captain Washington. His voice is barely audible. There's no apology sufficient for what I did. I nearly killed everyone because I couldn't see past your clothes. He holds out her dog tags. She'd given them back briefly for processing. You're a hero. I'm a fool. Kesha takes the tags. Mr. Harlan, fear makes us all do things we regret. You weren't trying to hurt anyone. You just misjudged. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be better. Then you're already on the right path. Vanessa approaches, mascara streaked. I deleted everything, but the internet doesn't forget. I destroyed your reputation. She's crying. How can I fix this? Tell the truth, Kesha says simply. Millions saw your posts. Let them see your apology. Vanessa records a video. I judged a hero by her hoodie. Kesha Washington saved 183 lives today while I mocked her online. I'm profoundly sorry. Posted to 47,000 followers. Within hours, 12 million views. Derek and Brad approach together. We're donating $100,000 to veteran pilot charities in your name. CEO statement 48 hours later. American Airlines is implementing mandatory bias training for all personnel. We're partnering with veteran organizations to ensure military members receive appropriate recognition. Captain Washington has been offered chief pilot instructor position. Kesha in interview. I appreciate the offer, but I need time. Flying tonight brought back trauma I'd buried. I need to heal before I can teach. FAA investigator. You flew without 777 type rating. Technically illegal. Kesha. Yes, sir. I accept any consequences. Investigator. The administrator has authorized special commendation and fast-tracked your type rating. Free of charge. The aviation world needs you. News headlines. Decorated combat pilot saves 183 after being mocked for clothes. Marcus Reed's eyewitness account goes viral. I'm a 20-year commercial pilot. What Kesha Washington did tonight, I've never seen anything like it. She's a legend. Social media. Nomad 7 trends globally. Military community celebrates. Think pieces about implicit bias flood major outlets. Senator files Veteran Pilot Recognition Act mandates priority hiring bias training support systems. Named Nomad 7 Act in Kesha's honor. Passes Congress unanimously 6 months later. 3 weeks later, Anchorage coffee shop. Dr. Peterson joins Kesha at her table. How are you? Some days better than others. Mom's funeral was hard, but flying again, she pauses. It reminded me who I am. You received 6 airline offers, plus the Air Force wants you back. I know. I'm still deciding. She sips her coffee, black, bitter, perfect. Right now, I'm just grieving and healing. Marcus Reed enters waves. Aw, Kesha, I wanted to thank you again and ask would you consult trained pilots for scenarios like ours? Maybe. I'll consider it. The passengers started a fund. $183,000. $1,000 per person saved. Keisha's eyes water. I don't want payment. It's gratitude. Use it however you want. Grant Harlan appears in the doorway, sees Kesha, approaches hesitantly. May I? She nods. He sits. I resigned as CEO, taking time to reflect on who I became and who I want to be. That's brave. You're brave. I'm just trying to stop being a coward. He slides a check across the table. $2 million, veteran pilot programs. Your name. It won't undo my words, but maybe it helps someone else. Kesha shakes his hand. Thank you, Grant. Closing scene Kesha at the window watching planes take off from Anchorage. Her dog tags rest on the table beside her coffee. Phone buzzes text from Commander Rodriguez' Nomad 7 Elmendorf Tower. Civilian aircraft over Bering Sea. Medical emergency pilot down. Need experienced cargo pilot to talk them through procedures. Volunteer only. Can you assist? Kesha types, send frequency. I'll help. She looks at the dog tags, puts them on. To herself, once a pilot, always a pilot.